Today, I'm going to be building a deck with you. A lot of people have been requesting this since they see that I create these amazingly weird and interesting decks. They say, John, I want you to talk out loud, walk through your thought process, and make it happen. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a deck together. And I'm going to try to do this in a way that allows us to, or at least allows me to make this video like a staple, so that if somebody comes back in a year and all the cards' abilities are different, doesn't really change anything. So normally before each stream begins, I need 5 decks. That way, if 2 of them fail, 3 of them are still good to go. I can share those decks with the world and feel pretty happy with that. And ironically, I think Fuchsia Briefs does a very similar thing, which is we both began just scrolling through all the cards, looking for wacky cards. Hey, there's Terranova. Cool, that's a wacky looking card. Let's start, like, we can go there. I can go to Regis. Regis is always a lot of fun to work with. Ice has a neat ability. A little dangerous with Blaze of Glory, but if we're not using Blaze of Glory, it should be a lot of fun. Simless can play all kinds of weird bronzes, but I've already done them with Offering and Assimilate, so I'm not very excited about that. Some of the more expensive bronze specials. War Elephant's cool. And you can just start scrolling down. Hey, we can do something with Seas, or I can give them a bunch of units and kill them. And you're just trying to catch, basically have a card catch your eye. What is a card that seems pretty interesting? Let's go back up. I've not actually prepared what we're playing, so let's figure it out. Well, I could do Alzur. So like, if I'm thinking about Alzur, I'm gonna be like, all right, what spells are out there? Okay. Yeah, we got some stuff. We got some stuff here there. Interesting. Like I got Neuromancy, a lot of Nilfgaard stuff. I see Spellsquare, which is pretty popular these days. Nothing else really too interesting in other factions though. Maybe not Alzur. I've already done Nilfgaard Alzur, and Squayatel Alzur is somewhat in the meta right now. It's a pretty obnoxious deck that I hate with all my heart, so maybe that's not where we're going here. Let's look at Terranova. Terranova is kind of weird because I can spawn and play a base copy of any unit that I gave Disloyal to. Kind of a neat idea. So what if I gave my opponent something interesting? Let's look at Nilfgaard and see what would happen if, what's the weirdest card I could give my opponent and want copies of? Well, there's Damien, but there's already a deck that gives people, you give Damien, use Imposter infinitely. Not as interesting. Could do Amir. He has an order ability if I keep a devotion. It will be a lot harder though to give my opponent Amir and give it spying. Because what I'm thinking about right now is, hey, can I give my opponent something that they probably don't want in round 1 to set up something really silly with Terranova later on? Because Terranova can spawn, so if I give him something silly and spawn something powerful, that could be funny. By the way, again, I've never tested it, so this could be an absolute disaster. What if we tried something like this? Okay. What about if we give him Colgrim and Idoran? So if I have Colgrim, nah, Colgrim's boring. Ignore Colgrim. Embrace the other one. It's a Colgrim or Cahir. And then what I could do is like a Idoran, right? Get Idoran. Because Letho as well. Might as well get all the spawning. And the reason I want them is so I can give Terranova spying. And this is just so I start filling it in, right? You just start filling in the spying. Like what gives spying and such. Great. Well, I need to give it to them. So Gorther gives me a Viper, Witcher, Alchemist. Might as well run a couple Alchemistos, right? Viper, Witcher. Yeah, we get a couple of you. Maybe I'll toss on a Wart to really make sure we get good stuff. And the idea is going to be, if I can get my opponent a Cahir, round 3 I can play Cahir off of Terranova and either get a third Cahir, so Idoran, so I have 3 or 4 Cahirs. Now, if I have 3 or 4 Cahirs, Yennefer probably is going to be enough to completely dominate the game, right? I'm going to play Yennefer, I can heal, I can boost all the units on the board. Well, I have 3 to 4 Cahirs. Now, 3 of the 4 Cahirs probably is enough to win the game, so this is going to be the rough build here. Now, I'm sitting on Tactical Decision. I could go Imprisonment, but Tactical Decision does have the benefit right now in the game of being very, very mean in round 1. You can have some just unbelievably obnoxious explosive plays while getting in a lot of fitting right now with Mage Assassins, a Fawn, and Sunset Wander. The Sunset Wander, Mage Assassins, and then a Fawn plus Snowdrop. It's a lot of points generated thins your deck, or at least 3 times, get a lot of control in the round. That seems very good. We have 29 now to work with. That's a fair bit of provision. So we look pretty gold up here. So let's just look at the bronzes real quick. What else would we want? Well, probably would like a Blight Maker and like a Dead Man's Tongue. Dead Man's is more thinning. Obviously, we have a lot of things we're trying to set up right now. I need to be able also to put Cahir on top of my deck. So let's get in 2 Blight Makers. That also will help us here if we miss the Mage Assassins. Okay, we have 10. We have a little tight here. So let's look at the 4s and then try to fill out just a couple decent 4s. Figure it out from there. I'm not too like married to any of the 4s per se, but I do want to find ones that I like. Well, we could kick out the Alchemist for Furies. That gives us actually exactly enough. Do I have any engines I really want to protect early on? Not particularly. I'm almost tempted to go Collar. It's unusual. Nah, Magic Lamp's really nice if we want to open Dead Man's, because most of our stuff is responsive. Then again, we're going to be rushing the combo in most cases. I want to really force my opponent to play Cahir. But with that said, this is when the problem comes to my mind. Hey, John, look, I know you're focused on that, but I need to get it out of their deck. I need Vilgefortz, Hibber, and stuff like that. Right now, I'm 15 over trying to get it all and have a little bit of search. But Royal Decree, probably not necessary, right? If we think about it a little bit longer, hey, you know, I don't actually need to search out really anything here because I'm going to hyper thin my deck. If I want to do that, maybe, I mean, I could keep the Fur card. We could do 2 Imperial Diplomacies. How many over if we do 2 Imperial Diplomacies? Because now we have a couple good targets for our card. We got Dead Man's, we have 2 Imperials. Probably can get it. We're over by 6. That's a lot. The easy cut to get rid of this is something up on the upper end here. Vilgefortz, Tibber. Wart is tempting. Like cut, nah, Wart's just not going to be enough. In that case, maybe we have to give the Sunset here. It's very good though. Sunset. And I don't have Fion. Yeah, let's give it a Sunset. Fion. And then notice the goal here with Terranova is going to be do this in round 3, but give them Cahir in round 1. We're over by 2, huh? Looking at the deck list. Fur card's looking a little sus, eh? So I can just cut it either on Maxi or I could add in just a Viper Witch Alchemist. And there we go. That's it. I have no idea if any of you learned anything, but this is what goes through our mind. So what did we end up with? We saw Terranova. We said it would be really funny to give my opponent it and give it spying. So we added in a whole package of Blight Makers to put on top of our deck. Then they can also get us backup for the Mage Assassins and the Fawn if we miss. Then after we put on top of our deck, we're going to go ahead and use Viper Witch Alchemist or the 2 Merchants to gun it over. Once we've done that, we can Dead Man's Tongue the extras away. After that, Vilgefortz or Tibber will show up to bring it out, force out the Cahir, and then coming in at the last second turncoat to give it spying. Then later on, we're set up to put Fion as our finisher, put down a triple Cahir, and then go for the Yennefer. Now, is there an easier way to make this deck work? Sure. Is it going to be hilarious when it does? Yeah, 100%. It looks to be pretty funny, in my opinion. I'm very excited to see it in action. And then I do this between usually 5 times in the morning. I'm going to do this over and over and over. I should name the deck. Always name your decks. We'll call this Triple Cahir. Have at least 5 decks ready to go. Sometimes I'll do 3, and sometimes the earlier ones will carry over. For example, this Renew Iteran deck with Patch Shadow Fury has been lingering for a while. It's been on my list for a while and may actually wait until next patch. And also, I have a few backups. I usually try not to put out videos unless I get stuck. I make sure every month there's a Salamander video. I like Salamander a lot. I'm kind of known for it. Same with Viper, same with Casino Lippy. Make sure a video on each of those comes out. These are my backups. So if I have my 5 decks, if 4 of them go poorly or all 5 of them bomb, we have classic decks I can always fall back into and run with it. And we see some other lingerers like 5 Maddox and Mill. Probably will get to YouTube eventually. Done it before, could do it again. And that's how I prep a stream. That's how I build a deck as well. And that was me kind of going crazy. But at least, even if you learn nothing, you get to see what happens every morning right before the stream begins. And I just crank through that. Make sure I have plenty of decks ready to go. Also, I don't really deck build on stream. If you're kind of curious, John, you've never done this before. I tried it one time. Nobody liked watching me deck build on stream. It's not very active. No, things aren't cooking. So as a result, here we are. I deck build off the stream instead. Let me know if you like this kind of video, if you learned something, and if you want more of it. If you want more of it, it's not particularly hard for me to make more, so maybe I'll do it again in a month or two. And if it didn't resonate with people, you're like, that's cool, I'm going to just treat it as a glimpse behind the scene. Lovely as well. Plain Talk fam, I love all of you. I'll see you soon. Shoutouts to Ahmed Ali McRandar and pseudonym 81 for their generous support on the Patreon.